And before we're gonna start Q&A, I just gonna say a couple of words about myself and about my work. So yes, I grew up in Germany, and I studied transportation design at Pforzheim University, where I graduated in 2006. And yeah, here you see some of my work I did during that time, some of design and illustration, my design and illustration work. So this was my graduation project, where you see like I did a future scenario incorporating a variety of different vehicles and products and scenarios all around the big cruise ship. And yeah, so just a bunch of different designs, all telling a story of one future scenario. And so in 2006, after graduating, I moved over to California to work at Volkswagen and Audi Design Center in Santa Monica. And yeah, during that time, I was fortunate to work on the LA Design Challenge contribution of Volkswagen, which was first the Nano Spider, then the Slipstream, and in 2008, the BioRunner. And I say fortunate because it was, as a car designer, it's always nice if you can work on a project which is published, because most of the work is strictly confidential, and yeah, a lot of car design projects like never see the light of the day. It's just there are a lot of projects which start and where there's a lot of design work done, and in the end it gets cancelled, or like another other proposal gets produced. So yeah, sometimes it can be hard to work for the paper bin, but these LA Design Challenge projects are just a lot of fun, because they're not only published, they're also like very can be very innovative and very futuristic. So you're not just designing a vehicle, you're also designing a whole scenario around, and you try to tell a story with your product. In 2009, I left Volkswagen and Audi in order to broaden my field more towards entertainment design, and since then I'm mostly doing work for live action films, but also some work for different computer game companies, and I'm still doing some work for car companies. So here you can see some environment illustrations I did during the last year, and yeah, most of them are really more quicker speed paintings, and it's just telling a rough story about it, about the lighting and mood and atmosphere, and also very important, the space and the scale of a place. So in 2009, I worked a long time on the movie Priest, which is a vampire western movie based on a Korean graphic novel, and which I think is a really interesting story to work on, and was like really interesting crossover of different worlds, like western meets vampire meets post-apocalyptic world. And for this movie, which will be released in 2011, so I won't be able to show you the artwork I did on that movie, but on the Comic-Con in San Diego 2 months ago, they released the motorbike, which I did a lot of design work on. And so yeah, this should just give you a glimpse of the work I did for that movie. I work on a variety of different motorbikes. I worked on a lot of weapons and props, and also a couple of sets. And yeah, like you see, it's these motorbikes should look really fitting into a rundown world. It shouldn't look designed like a modern car is designed. It should look like it's assembled out of like found parts in this rundown and post-apocalyptic world. So you see like just like a lot of industrial waste, found waste put together and assembled in a new way.
Okay, Patrick. So
Okay.
I'm going.
This. Yeah.
I'm going to start the question section part of it. So
Okay. Yes.
let's move. Okay, I have a list of questions from some of the people that signed in earlier. The first question I have is
Yes.
from a Greg Lambricus. Greg, if you're there,
Yes.
I'm going to basically make you active to speak to Patrick, so you can ask your question directly. Greg, are you there? Hello, Greg. Okay, I guess Greg isn't there, but his question
I can.
basically. Hello, Patrick.
Yes.
Oh,
I couldn't hear Greg, but I can hear you, Ted.
okay. Well, I'm not sure. I think he stepped away because it says yeah. But I'll ask his question on his behalf. He asked, it seems that
Okay.
graduates from places like Art Center are just plugged right into the industry and find a job right away. I'm a bit of an outsider with no real contacts in the business, so how do I get in?
Okay. I mean, all these schools like Art Center, Royal College of Art in London, Pforzheim, all the schools are really good paths into the industry. And I mean, art centers particularly for like the entertainment industry. And I agree with you. It's like it's a good way to get in the industry, and you will have a lot of exposure of your work to important contacts. And after graduating, you have a lot of friends who are like moving into the industry, and you know a lot of teachers who are there. So it's like a good way. But I would say nowadays it's getting um, uh, it's getting more and more like democratic. So with in the times of internet, you have a lot of possibilities to expose your work on different websites like CG Society, CG Channel, and all these websites where people, professionals from the industries are looking on a daily basis to get inspired, to see artwork, but also to find talents. So I would say if you um, don't have a background from a school which provides you with contact, then just be online and try to publish your work, try to bring your work out there. And on these platforms, you will get a lot of exposure and people will see your work, and yeah, I'm sure you will get contacts. And it's always important to get the first couple of contacts, and if you, after time, you get the ball rolling and the work gets better because you are doing more professional work, and yeah, hopefully, yeah, the ball rolls from alone then. So I hope that answers your question.
Okay, well, let's hopefully it answered Greg's question. He did write back, said he was having some technical issues with his mic. So no
Okay.
problem,
Yeah,
Greg.
maybe it can be.
Uh, but it's no problem. He actually has a couple more questions, but I'm going to ask some questions from other people first and then come back to Greg's additional questions if we
Yes.
have time. The next question I have in the list
Okay.
is from Todd Kalwaski. Todd, if you're there, I'm going to make you
Yes.
active to ask your question. So, Todd, are you there? Hello, Todd. Okay, well, I guess Todd isn't, mic isn't, oh, he doesn't have a mic, so I'll ask the question for him as well. Okay, Todd's
All right.
question
Hi,
um,
Todd.
uh, is, hello, Patrick. In the video second part, it says that you inverse a mask on a curved layer to paint white or light back into your picture. Can you explain in a little more detail how to do this? Thanks a lot.
Okay. So maybe I can open Photoshop for that. Ted, it's okay if I do like show it on Photoshop. Do you mind? So yeah, I know it's like I did that very fast, and it might have been too fast to understand. But what I did, I have a certain layer, and I create a layer mask, which is a secondary layer, which is connected to my main layer. And on this mask, it's either black or white, and all the black parts are showing areas from my original layer, and all the white parts are hiding stuff from my original layer. So if I paint on that mask layer, then I can hide and or add and subtract stuff from my original layer. Ted, should I show that, or is it?
If you think that it can be demonstrated,
it's an important thing.
I say go ahead, show it. I mean, for everyone who's watching his live stream, it's a bit laggy at the moment because of just the server itself. So just bear with what we're doing, and hopefully you can see what he's trying to demonstrate.
Okay.
So just go ahead, Patrick, and explain whatever it is that you're doing right now.
Okay. I have a layer which is blue paint. That's my image. And now I add a mask. I actually have a problem because my screen is not is too small on this. I can't add a mask. No, it doesn't make sense. Sorry, I can't show it because my screen is right now. It's too small to work properly. I can't add a mask layer. So it's basically, yeah, masks really help you to hide certain stuff from your original layer without to erase it. Because if you have a certain photo on your main layer and you want to erase certain areas, then it's always hard to get them back. But if you do that with a mask, you can just hide this area and can paint it in later. So yeah, just add a mask and play around with black and white on this mask layer. And what I did with inverting this layer was just turning it from black, which showed everything of my original layer, to white, which kind of hid everything of my original layer. So I know it's hard right now without getting your feedback. I can't really, I don't know if that helped you or not, and I'm not able to show it in Photoshop, so that's a little hard. But just let me know if there's anything I can.
Well, can I ask a question, Patrick?
Without having Photoshop.
Yeah. I wanted to know then, in this kind of situation, do you think it would be possible to do like a simple 1 minute or 2 minute video of just you going into Photoshop, making a mask, and then that's it, kind of thing that we can upload later on and send to people to show?
Yes.
Okay.
I can do that.
All right, so Todd, I would say wait a couple days or so, and we'll try to get a video uploaded demonstrating Patrick doing his mask setup that you saw in the second part of the video too. And basically it should be, I think it will be available for everybody else to access as well. So write in about that, and it should be up in a few days, but I'll keep you all posted. Moving along, we have a question from Art S. Art, I'm going to make you active, so if you're there, can you say anything? Arthur, are you there? Oh, Arthur is having mic troubles, I think, as well, so
Okay.
I'll ask the question for Art. Basically, Art asks, would you approach drawing/painting closer distance, like a room, the same way you paint a larger picture, like landscape or the example in your workshop?
Okay, so you're talking about like a smaller interior space versus a really big open exterior space. Yes, in general terms, it's always about composition and color. I mean, that are the main things you need to keep in mind. And yes, I would approach it the same way. It's I mean, it's all on a different scale. You would need different details to get the scale right. But in the end of the day, you would approach it the same way. So it would be more maybe about like pattern on the floor, or maybe a certain carpet, or details in a lamp, which are on a much smaller level than let's say the image I've shown you in my demonstration. But in general, I would say it's the same process. And I would say I mean, for me, like working on a lot of very different projects, I feel it's really helpful to see things like as abstract as possible. So not to get too much involved with the subject you're drawing or painting, but more see it in abstract terms like value, composition, grouping of values, detail, texture. Just concentrate on those terms. And if you do that, then it doesn't matter at all if you paint a big exterior space or a smaller interior space.
Okay, thank you.
Another thing is like if you what's really helpful is to look at a lot of images of interior spaces, and then you learn by watching this, looking on this photo reference, you get a feel of what kind of details might make sense to integrate in your painting. So just learn from photos, and that will help you tremendously. Okay, Ted.
Okay.
I hope that answers your question, Arthur.
All right. Well, if it doesn't, please write back to us, Mr. Art, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. The next question we have is from Mauricio Galle. Mauricio, if you're there, I want to make you live. Are you there, Mauricio?
Mic issues.
Hello, Mauricio? Oh, he doesn't have a mic either. Okay. See a trend happening
Today's a no mic day.
I guess so. Well, I'll ask the question for Mauricio. Basically, he says, you mentioned that you were forced to create correct lighting while studying transportation design. Could you talk more about how we can learn to create correct/realistic lighting when dealing with so many elements in an environment? Some exercises, perhaps?
So you're talking about lighting in environments, I guess? And
he says yes.
So he's not talking about lighting for product or cars, more for environments, right?
Mauricio? He says yes, actually.
Okay. So in general, I would say it's really important to have a general idea about your lighting situation, and don't get distracted by all your elements in painting. If you have a painting where a lot of stuff is going on, don't get too far into detail at first. Just have a general idea about what kind of light you want to show in your image. You want to have something backlit. I mean, right now you can see here is a lot of light coming from the background. So I'm kind of like backlit. So you see mostly my silhouette. And so if you have an image and you you need to think first, what do you want to show? Is it more about like the silhouette of a certain object, or like maybe a skyline or something, or is it more about like the details inside? And that gives you already kind of limits your possibilities, what kind of lighting makes sense. And if you have, for example, like a backlit lighting situation, then yeah, try to find photos which show like a backlit situation and learn from that, like what kind of areas have what kind of color, and how does fog and everything work with in a backlit situation. And so yeah, that's basically, it's really about think what kind of light situation makes sense for you. And I'm in a painting, I'm not thinking too much about making it realistic. It's more about choosing the right lighting scenario. And if you do that, like if you have a the right concept, then it will kind of solve from alone.
Okay. Hopefully,
yeah.
I hope that answers Mauricio's question. Did you have any more you wanted to add to that, Patrick, or was that everything?
Does Mauricio say anything back?
Mauricio,
it would be nice to have more like a conversation, so I can react to his.
Right, that's why I think a microphone would have been perfect for them to have, but you know, unfortunately they don't. But he did have a follow-up question that I just saw. He asked, do you decide on your color palette before you start painting color? Keys, color schemes, he asked.
Yes and no. I mean, I have a general idea, but I mean, like you saw in my demo, from the beginning on, I wanted to have something kind of greenish bluish, like a greenish bluish color scheme coming from my board with all the reference photos, because I just felt the general feeling was kind of colder and more technological, like more yeah, more cold, and I kind of stuck to that color scheme like throughout the whole painting. But what sometimes happens that you after time you feel like, wow, maybe some shift more towards like a warmer color scheme helps. So I would say have an idea from the beginning on, but don't limit yourself on that. When after time you feel like you need to shift it, then just be open for experiments, and sometimes creative accidents, like happy accidents, happen that you maybe put in a certain photo reference and you just blend it over and you feel like, whoa, there's something red going on and I like that. Then don't push that away because you say, okay, I want to stay in this blue-greenish color scheme. So be open, but I mean, have a certain idea. And that's also something from the beginning on, I wanted to create an image which shows this like lush tropical environment, which incorporating a city, and that gave me a certain idea of color. But so it's good to have to think about it first, but yeah, don't limit yourself too much about it. Let happy accidents happen. And another thing is, in general, it's almost more important to keep a certain color variety in your image. So to have a lot of like slightly different local color which all belong to one family. Because if you because that just gives you like an keeps your image alive, because you want to go in with your eye and explore little areas, because you there's a lot of color change going on. So I would say, yeah, just keep a certain color variety in your image. That's more important than, almost more important than your overall color, because you can almost change it in the end, shift it more towards another direction. You will still keep keep the local color variety.
Okay. Thank you, Patrick.
So
I hope that helped Mauricio out. I'm going to move on to the next question from, I believe it's Jake Kwan. Jake, if you're there, I'm going to make you audible and alive. So, Jake, are you there? Jake Kwan?
Hello?
Yes, Jake.
I guess Jake
Hi.
has no mic click. Jake, wow, I can hear you. Hi, Jake.
Hi. First of all, beautiful painting. I love your concept art. And my question was that you did mention that the your designs, that your concept painting designs are a little more towards abstract. And my question was that how, if you worked in a game design like studio, and what would the next step be? Like, would the next step be to like define everything more for the modelers, or do the other artists take over, or like how would you take this painting to the next step? Like, what would you do with it?
I mean, at first it really depends on in what kind of stage of production you are. I mean, like often I'm working on projects in a very early phase where it's still like a lot of possibilities to explore, where I create this kind of images to get an impression of a certain space and a certain lighting and a certain mood and some glimpse of different architecture and shapes. But you're right, like as further the production goes, as more you would nail things down on a on details and design. So like the painting I did as a demo, maybe if like the art director or the production designer would like certain aspects of it, then the next step could be to at first go further with detailing all the stuff in it. So I mean, most of the elements are kind of more indicated at this point. It's more about the general scene and the general mood. But I would do, I could go much further into the details of like the single elements, and then I would maybe also do, let's say for the ship, maybe I would make a call-out drawing to define that even more, or maybe my art director just says, okay, I like the general feel of that ship, maybe you can do a couple of different designs like in that family.
Okay.
So does it answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you. Another question that I had was that...
Sorry, one second, Jake. We will come back to you because we have a few other people we have to get through first. So if you can, just send me your question in the question field, and as I go down the list, I'll come back to you. Okay?
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, talk to you later, Jake.
So we're going to move on now to Zachary Graves. So Zachary, if you're there, can you say hello?
Hello.
Hello, Zachary. How are you?
Hi, Zachary.
Okay.
I really like the workshop, especially like the thumbnail stuff. But your illustrations are really loose, and you use a lot of photo references. How would you approach, say, like the bike that you used in the Priest movie? Does that make sense?
On that one, I did a lot of actually traditional pencil sketches first. Then I did. I also used some photo reference to texture them, and in the end, I was like, as we got along in the production, I was doing like a side view drawing in Photoshop and like 3/4 rear and 3/4 front view. So it's it starts up with like really loose sketches, like thumbnail sketches, and then it gets more and more tightened down. Because in the beginning, I always want to keep it loose and abstract because I always like to explore like a big variety in different of different solutions. And so, for example, on the priest bike, you saw this big turbine. And in the beginning, it wasn't supposed to be there, and it was just like a fine little thumbnail sketch from my side, which kind of brought in that idea. And I'm always afraid to lose those kind of ideas, so I start really abstract and yeah, rough in the beginning, and then I bring it more and more down to a yeah, to a tight side view drawing, or yeah, or to or like front view and rear view drawing. So where the modelers can work from. Yeah. So.
Okay. Thank you, Zachary. So Patrick, we're going to move on now to Jazz McDaniel. Jazz, if you're there, can you say hello?
Yes.
Hello.
Hello, Jazz.
Hi, Jazz. How are you doing today?
Good, good. The question I had was, it was with referencing. I know in one of your videos you mentioned that I believe you use iStock as some of your photo references. And I was just wondering, were there more than just that resource that you use for referencing when looking for pictures to use?
What do you mean with iStock? I didn't understand your first part. What did I reference?
For your reference drawings, I'm not sure which website you mentioned, but one I thought it might have been like iStock
okay,
Photos.
Yes. I use Flickr a lot, and I use just Google image search a lot, and I would say I even use iPhoto. I use Google Images even more, and I mean it's more about what kind of word you put in for what kind of outcome you get. So for that reason, I'm always kind of looking for like different images. Sometimes I don't really have a certain image in mind what I want to find, but always when I see something nice, I just download it, and I kind of put everything in iPhoto. That's this like preview program in for Mac, which is just a really nice way to to group your photos, to organize your photos. And yeah, I would just suggest like yeah, go on Google Images and like look for just random stuff, and it more and more you will see interesting things, and you might get from like one photo you go to that website where it's from, and you suddenly see it like a photographer, for example, and he has like hundreds of images, and then I would just download all them. And I mean, it's just like going from one step to the other, and sometimes you find like nice sources of images, and sometimes you don't. So it's kind of like just keep your eyes open when you are on the web, and like always download what you like. And I would say my image library is like a really important part for my work process, because I would say I have like 30,000 images, which are mostly stuff I like and which I have somehow organized, and which just gives me a good base to work with. So just keep gathering stuff, and at some point you will, you will have a good source.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Go ahead. I just lost you.
No problem, no problem. This is pretty much the same in the same reference. How much time do you spend searching for references when you're starting your project?
It depends on how specific my art director or production designer already is with the thing I have to work on. So often if you work in an art department, they have already like lots of folders with nice reference you can use. So then I'm more than open to use that reference. But you also often have just photos which you use over and over again, because you just know it's like a maybe like a nice color variety or a nice texture or something, and you use the same photo for different things. So I wouldn't look too long for reference. I would just I don't know, I would take a couple of hours to look for images if they can't provide me with a reference, and then I would go into the painting, because I mean, I always want to keep room for getting inspired for different things. So I maybe would go back within the painting when I know a certain direction and would go on looking for images. So I wouldn't worry too much about reference, but I would yeah, incorporate it in some way.
Okay, thank you, Patrick.
It's like kind of endless. You can look for days in the internet to find photos. So yeah.
I think you got his question pretty thoroughly answered. So Jazz, I hope he was able to help you out. I'm going to move on pretty quickly. We have a little more than 15 minutes left to go, so we have a few more questions, but I think we'll get to everyone at least once in the list. So I'm going to move on now to, sorry, one second, to David Dace. David, if you're there, can you say hello?
Hi.
Hi, David, and speak up a little bit louder on the mic so we can all hear you. Thank you.
Okay, how you doing? Can you hear me?
Very good. How are you doing? I hope you enjoyed the demo.
Yeah, I did very much. My question is, I'm actually older than a lot of the artists that I see out there. I got my degree back in '89, but I'm trying to move from designing T-shirts to concept work. And my question is that a possible thing, or do studios really look for younger people right out of school?
I would say nothing is impossible, and it really depends on your portfolio. So I mean, that's a nice thing about design and concept art. You kind of you apply with your work and you show somebody your work, and it kind of speaks for itself. And if somebody likes your work, he's gonna hire you, and it's everything else is secondary. So yeah, I would say just like keep doing great work, and then you will yeah, like in an earlier question, I would say try to publish it in some way on some websites and just get feedback from other people, which helps you to learn and improve your work, but also to get exposure to to studios and possible people to hire you. And yeah, I mean, there's no age limit or anything. It's like as long as you can hold a pencil, you can work. No, I mean it's.
I think that's a good answer. So
yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you, David, for that question, and thank you, Patrick, for answering. We're going to try to move on to the next person here, which I believe is Matthew. And I'm sorry if I don't have their last name pronounced correctly. It's Schuberman. Are you there, Matthew?
Yes. Can you hear me?
We can hear you, but a little louder would be great if that's possible.
Okay. Can you guys hear me now?
Perfect. Thank you.
Awesome. So I have two questions, but I'll just ask the first one. Patrick, you said that you came off of a fantasy medieval picture, and something that has, you know, typically a fantasy picture, something medieval, will have much more organic elements in it, things like mountains, slopes, and hillsides. How would you approach that versus approaching the tech stuff that you did in the demo for us?
I would worry less about my perspective, and I would focus more on texture. And so I mean, you have like you would have like different reference to point to, and you would have certain things which you would change. We would have like another kind of skyline. You would have everything is more limited to the world you're in. But I would say you could even push this image into like a medieval one, like if you see like the whole thing as an abstract image of or an abstract composition of values and colors, then in the end it's all like the detail you apply which push it in a certain way. So what I'm saying is in general there's no different approach to it. It's just other other reference and other stuff which lead you. And I would say it's just less about perspective and less about human created shapes. So like natural shapes are more random. And in this one, like with my architecture, I always try to find certain themes which I repeat in a manner like it's like man-built. And on a medieval scene, you would have more, natural elements which you want to let look more random. So Matthew, I hope that helps.
Okay. Well, hopefully that helped Matthew. But we have to move on to the next few questions because we're down to 10 minutes. So Matthew, we're going to move on from this. I saw you had another question, but for now, we'll come back to you if there's time at the end. The next person in our list is, sorry, one second, is Muhammad Zufar. So Muhammad, if you are there, can you say hello?
Hi Muhammad, how are you doing?
Hello Muhammad. Oh, he doesn't have a mic. Okay, so then I'll ask the question on his behalf. He says, "Hi Patrick, I was wondering, how do you go about getting inspiration / reference for lighting and mood for scene? Thanks." I think you kind of answered already, no? Patrick?
Kind of. I mean, just
I'll just
the more
say,
as you gather reference, you kind of know what to look for, and I mean, just gather the stuff you, the images you like. It's hard to just look specific for a lighting situation because you can't type in a certain lighting and get the right images for that. It's always a little bit of like searching and good luck to find something. So keep looking and build up your own reference library that will help you. You will get a more specific library which will provide you with better, more specific reference.
oh, okay. Thank you, Patrick. So now we're going to move on to the next question from, I believe it's Greg Edwards. He doesn't have a mic either, so I'm going to ask on his behalf. Greg asks, "Your approach is very loose."
Hi, Greg.
He says, "Your approach is very loose in the beginning, but you're still conscious about composition and its elements as a whole. Do you think it could hinder an artist to rely to rely on brushes if they don't fully understand compositional elements? What would you suggest before utilizing them?" Want me to read it again? Or?
I think you need to understand composition. Brushes can't if you don't understand your composition, then it's hard to just hide that with brushes. So I would say brushes are just a tool to always bring in a certain complexity, but you yourself need to understand the composition, and so it helps you with having everything more detailed, but I would say it's essentially important to understand the composition, and I think it's really helpful to watch, to look at old images, like old painter images, and yeah, all kind of images, and like observe what does this composition, what does characterize this composition. So try to understand composition, and you will see it will make your life much easier. Yeah.
That's about it? Okay, so then, okay.
That question, yes.
So then we'll move on to the next question. Hopefully he answered that for you, Greg. The next person is, I believe it's pronounced Athos Correa Sampaio. They don't have a mic, so I'll ask the question on their behalf. For Patrick, okay. I'd like to know the main topics / knowledge areas you think a concept designer should develop as a designer, and which main things he should concentrate to develop further his design visions.
That's a tough question, because I think as a concept designer you have the possibility to work on very different fields. There are people who are really like medieval fantasy stuff, so they concentrate on that because they want to do that. And as more they concentrate on that, they get jobs in that range, and so they get more and more specialists for a certain subject. I, for myself, try to keep myself very open for different things, which has the upside that I can do, yeah, that I learn about different worlds, which has a downside that I'm not getting a specialist in many things. There would be always somebody who's like much better in, for example, designing dungeons, if he just did a lot of dungeons and medieval castles in his working life. So I think it's important to understand for yourself what is your strengths, what do you want to do, because just the things you're interested in you can really put your focus on, and these are the things you will become good in automatically because you are interested in them. So I would say the most important thing for you is to understand what you like yourself and which direction you want to go. And the next step is to get good in that, which you will get automatically if you really like what you're doing. And then the third step is, yeah, you will get into a certain direction with that. But I would say, like in general, like entertainment design gives a lot of different directions, and you don't need to be able to design cars for working for films, but it sometimes helps you, and some projects it doesn't help you at all. So and there are people who are who studied architecture before, and they have they are specialists in different things than I am, for example. But that's kind of what makes work in the entertainment industry interesting, because there are people with different backgrounds, and everybody contributes his own vision to yeah, to develop the whole project. So yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Okay, well, thank you for that. Hopefully that answered their question. We have another unique question, and I think our time is winding down pretty soon.
Yes.
So I'm going to move on to Brandon. Sorry, Brandon, I'm not sure how to pronounce your last name. But if you're there, can you say hello, Brandon? Brandon, do you have a mic? I guess.
Hi, Brandon.
I guess not. So in that case, I'll ask the question for Brandon. He asked, how do you recommend organizing a portfolio for entertainment design? Do you organize it specifically according to the type of work you do?
Okay, that's a very interesting question, I think, because it always depends a little bit on what kind of project you're applying for. If you're applying for a game company, for example, who's mostly doing like fantasy games, then I would put other stuff in it than I would if I would work for a film project which is about science fiction. So always adjust what you show, how you feel it's valuable for the thing you apply for. Having said that, I always try to still keep a little bit of an overview. So if I would apply for a specific project, I would try to focus my work on that, but I would also keep a lot of a small part of my portfolio which shows just the bandwidth of everything what I'm able to do. So because sometimes it's a project, it's a problem that you apply for something and like the production designer wants to see oranges and you have just peaches in your portfolio and bananas, and the production designer doesn't believe that you can do oranges if you have all kinds of other fruits but oranges in your portfolio. And that's sometimes stupid, because like if you can do all these different fruits, then it's no problem to just do his oranges. But sometimes you just need to show exactly the right thing to get him like your work. So it's always a little bit of a gamble, but I would say you're pretty safe if you make some research what the company or the studio you're applying for does, and just put like 70% of stuff which kind of goes in that direction to your portfolio, and then as a backup keep 30% which shows your bandwidth of other work you're able to do. Okay.
A lot. And I think we are approaching our time, but I think we can ask one or two more questions. So I'm going to go back to the beginning for those people that ask multiple questions. Since we went through the entire list for the most part, I think I can ask those second questions now. So we're going to go back to Greg Lambrisk, who didn't have a mic before. His second question was, to get a job at a game or film studio, would you recommend mastering one discipline or developing a variety of 2D and 3D capabilities?
I mean, lately there are more and more people who are able to do both, and I think it doesn't hurt at all to be able to do some 3D work, but it doesn't hurt. But on the other side, on the other hand, there are so many different programs out there today that it's kind of hard for you to learn everything. I mean, I would like to get better in 3D programs. I would like to animate stuff, but the day has just 24 hours. So it's good to know a lot of things, but on the other hand, it's like important to focus yourself on something to become really good in that one thing. So
okay.
I can't answer this question like generally, because there are some people who are very good as an all-rounder and some people who are really good in something like specific. So there's for that.
Patrick, that's good, I think.
Greg, I hope it answers the question.
Okay, Greg has other questions, but I'm going to go down the list to the people that have second questions as well. So sorry, Greg. Let's go down to, let me see here. I think it was Mauricio that may have had an additional question. Actually, no. Greg has a bunch of questions. I think, is it Jake? Yes, I think it's Jake Kwon, I think, had another question. Let me see 1 second, Patrick. Sorry about this.
Yeah.
Okay, so Jaquan's next question was, as a person who is versed mainly in traditional techniques, what would be the best way to try and learn these speed painting techniques and styles?
Okay. I envy you. I would like to be able to paint traditionally, but I kind of learned in reverse. I learned everything in digital, and now I have this, I don't know, it's like hard for me to get into traditional painter, into traditional painting direction, because I feel it's always so much easier and faster in Photoshop. So it's hard for me to answer this question how it's the other way around. I would say the most important thing for you is to get comfortable in Photoshop, to just choose a couple of tools you like, you would also use traditionally, and set up Photoshop in a way that you can that you feel comfortable in it, to have to access all your important functions with hotkeys. And if you feel comfortable with it, then I would just try to do what you do traditionally, but yeah, digitally. So for you, the problem is just like the interface, which is different. So to eliminate this kind of border in between, this interface, I would just try to minimize the boundary. I would just try to feel as comfortable as possible in Photoshop, and then apply what you know traditionally to the digital world. Yes. So.
Okay, thank you, Patrick. We have I'm going to ask one more question, but before I get to that last question, do you remember the one we had about the whole mask issue that Todd asked you earlier? Yes. He had a follow-up question. He says, yes, it makes sense. I understand how to do masks, but can't seem to do it on a curves layer like you were. It looked like you were painting right on the curves. Is that right?
So actually, like a curved layer is like a normal layer. It should be able to attach a mask to that layer. So the mask on a curved layer would also just hide and show certain areas of this adjustment you did with a curve. So it should be possible. And I'm not sure, but it might even be the case that it automatically has a curve layer. So just there's this little tiny curve symbol, and right next to it there should be a white or black square which indicates the curve layer, and in between there's a little chain symbol. So just watch out for that, and the second one should be the mask layer.
Thank you, Patrick. I'll ask, this is the last question before we end this session. I'm just answering a question really quick. You can hear me typing, of course. Sorry, one second.
Answer was yes or no.
The last question we have, I'm going to give from, I believe it was from, sorry, I lost my place. From Matthew Sharma. So actually, I think Matthew did have a mic, so if he's still there, Matthew, can you go ahead and ask your last question?
Yes, can you hear me now?
Yes, I didn't have you unmute at the time, but go ahead.
Yes, Matthew, I can hear you.
Okay, so as a concept designer, what would you say to a concept designer or art director that says that your work should always be ready to hand in at any moment? And a good example would say, the art director would say you have to do a line drawing first and then fill in value, because throughout the day, throughout an 8-hour day, they might ask for your artwork at any given time.
Yes.
So what would you say to that person?
Okay, that I never worked for somebody who required that from me.
Okay.
I mean, I would feel it's a really restricting request, and it kind of leaves not much space to experiment. And I mean, sometimes there are paintings which go quite like a straight way, which would be ready to hand out at any time. But sometimes it's like, I feel it's just hard to manage that. But yeah, if you go a process with like first doing a line drawing, then putting in your values, and then go the next step, putting in color. I mean, with those kind of process, you can really help this, help hitting this request, because it always keeps you ahead of things, and always keep the control on your side, like what you're doing. But I would say the downside of this is that there's not much room for happy accidents. But maybe your art director is okay with that, and it's pretty much he knows exactly what he expects you to do, and then it's okay for him to not having this accidents and not this much room for creativity in your process. So yeah, I would try to I mean, in the end of the day, you kind of have to have to hear this request, but maybe you can it's hard to say. It's really about like this creative part and how important this creative element is for him. So if he would say that to me, I would I think I would accept it. And if he pays me and he wants me to do it a certain way, then he gets what he wants to have. But yeah, he maybe loses the chance of some interesting other outcome he could have gotten by a more creative process. So I hope that answers your question.
I hope so. So thanks a lot for that question, Matthew. And I think that will conclude our Q&A for today. Sorry to those of you who had multiple questions that we couldn't get to, but I think we got to everyone that joined in for the most part, at least once. So I think that's a success. I have to thank Patrick for giving us his time and for demonstrating a wonderful workshop. And for those of you who are interested in purchasing additional workshops, they are still available for sale. So I would say check back on the site and see what other ones you may be interested in. But beyond that, this particular session has been recorded, and we should have it uploaded to the site within a couple of days or so. So again, thank you all so much for participating, and thank you again, Patrick, for your time.
Thank you, everybody, for participating and just joining the workshop. It was really fun.
Thank you. Bye-bye, everyone.